Anyway, that never happened. Anyway, it carried on to the end. I can't remember, 20 or 21 years I did there. And she was very ambitious for her staff. She's always trying to push you out into a better paid position somewhere else in the company. And I didn't want to go because communications was my life, it was what I've been trained to do, it's what I wanted to do. In fact, when I was about to join the forces, I tried all three of them. Actually, no, sorry, I didn't try the RAF. Because bearing in mind, Enniskillen is 90 miles away from Belfast. And you had to go up to Belfast for the interviews. So I applied for the Navy, and they asked me, did an exam, a physical exam, no problem. Then they asked me what I would like to do. So I said communications. I said, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I'm afraid you can't do that. And I said, why? He said, well, you don't know much about the Navy. I said, no. He said, well, we use coloured lights and coloured flags, and you're colourblind.
Oh, yes.
Now, how would you like to be a sick birth pretend? I said, no, thank you. So back home again, never think about it. Applied to join the army. Trudged up to Belfast again. Great big Victorian barracks in Belfast with a room. You couldn't see the other end of it, so big. And the ceilings, a lovely doctor gave me a thorough medical. He said, have you been in the armed forces? I said, no. He said, have you applied to be in the armed forces? And I said, yes, I was rejected. On what grounds? Eyesight, colour vision specifically. So he rambled on with some more tests. And then they gave me a sheet of paper and he said, go down to the end of the room and read it out, will you? I said, fine. Without a microphone, just as it was. And he said, he come back, he said, there's nothing at all wrong. He said, there's nothing wrong with your ears. And it's sound that you use in the Royal Signals, not vision. I said, okay. So that stuck with that. And the reason I left BA in the end was they were getting ready, as I thought in my mind, to break the airline up.
Okay.
They were trying. They deliberately started it in 47. Now they were trying to get it all together again. That meant an awful lot of problems. There's a problem with equipment, i.e. aeroplanes, all different types of aeroplanes, loads of other problems. But you could see that's the way they were heading, because I was asked to attend a conference. They were all communications people, and it was obvious from the way it was being conducted, they were gauging reaction to it. And this bloke come up to me and he said, oh, you're a chappie from BAE Signals, aren't you? I said, that's right. And he said, well, your company didn't do very well last year. I said, I'm afraid to say yours did even worse. You had a gentleman called Sir Giles Guthrie, who was your chairman, and he lost £2.5 million, which in 1959, 1960 was a hell of a lot of money. He lost them on the South American route, and Freddie Laker took him up and made a fortune out of it.
So did you get to travel around the world much?
Oh yes. What you had a system of staff travel. It wasn't like I had to point out to one of my lady staff on one occasion. It wasn't a right. It was a concession.
Okay.
So all you had to do was you go to your boss, you get a form, fill it in, which she signed, and then you took that down to the ticket office and you got a ticket. And you got a seat on the aeroplane if you were lucky.
Yeah.
Because you as staff can last. The way I used to explain it to people was, if they got an empty seat, they'd be quite happy to take a quid from me. But if I've got a passenger who wants to pay 20 quid, of course I'll have the 20 quid.
Yeah.
What I didn't know, is nobody bothered to explain to me, that the more years you serve with the airline, the further up you climb the ladder. And on this occasion, I've been in the States, and we were at Kennedy Airport trying to come back, and it was so big. They actually had their own staff desk there, which is most unusual. Normally, you use a normal passenger desk. So I trogged up, saw the nice young American lady, and she said, "Oh, you're a bit early, Mr. McGee. Go and have a cup of coffee and come back." And there's all these people be standing there for it, all glaring at me. I said, "Now, who's this prat?" sort of thing. So I come back, and a big smile, because she was enjoying this. Big smile lit up her face, handed me ticket and my boarding card, and there's a howl of protest. You know, and I shot out of it. I said, "Oh, just a moment, young lady, how did you arrange that?" She said, "Well, has nobody told you?" I said, "Told me what?" She said, "You've got nearly 20 years service. That counts." So, okay, fine, then sue me.
That's good.
So,
Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that brilliant? Hearing that story now, just how, I mean, I don't think it's like that now.
No.
Service doesn't really count for anything now, does it?
I was on shift work all that. I didn't mind that because I'd done that in the army anyway. I baffled one poor check-in desk, and what in those days was Terminal 1 at Heathrow. I booked a flight to Paris, and I turned up, and it was summertime like this. And she said, she's not a hope. The Paris flight is full, so is the next one, and the next one's getting the same way. I said, "Okay then, what time's the next Amsterdam?" She said, "I thought you want to go to Paris." I said, "I do. I just want to go away. I don't care where it is." "Is the fare the same?" "Yes." I said, "What time's the next flight?" She said, "Half an hour." I said, "Right, thank you." And she sat there shaking her head. Never come across a customer like that before.
And you would just get to wherever you were going and sort out your, bed and board.
I'd just jump on a flight, no bookings, nothing. Arrive wherever was going to arrive and take it from there.
Where's your favourite place to visit?
Amsterdam,
Okay.
or Holland in general,
Yeah.
because where I was stationed in Germany with the Royal Signals, there's a place called Mönchengladbach. They've got a football team, I understand.
Mönchengladbach. Yeah.
It's very close to the border with Holland.
Yeah.
And they had, run by WVS, I think it was, the Women's Voluntary Service. All you had to do was get a ticket, which didn't cost you anything. It was for, this is pre-Common Market, when it was called Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg, pre-Common Market, whatever they call it now. So you were given this form by your general office, and you just handed it in to the coach driver, and it was more or less for the Dutch customs. They were quite happy to see you coming in, because you're going to be spending some money in our country. And you weren't a nuisance, because they knew how to get hold of you if they wanted. So I was struck by two things. First of all, the cleanliness of the country, because the Dutch look after their towns and their cities, and you don't find sweet wrapping papers and all the rest of it scattered around. And secondly, the courtesy of the people. Because to be honest, that generation never forgot what Britain had done for them.
Yeah.
Which leads me to another point on that. I went to an exhibition many, many years ago at the Imperial War Museum, and I don't know whether you've ever heard of something called Operation Manna.
No, tell us.
Well, at the end of the war was actually over. The Dutch were actually starving. So Britain had all these bombers that they weren't using anymore. So the food supply then dropped them all over the place. Imperial War Museum has a marvellous collection of letters, postcards from people writing in them. Thank you very much. You saved our lives.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know about the modern generations, but I think most of them are still like that. Every chance I had, I went back to Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember one occasion in Schiphol, that's Amsterdam airport, bloke's looking to me, he said, "Oh, you've been here before." I said, "Yes, sir." And in case you don't know, Dutch customs are Dutch customs, but they're also military police. Yeah. I said, "Oh, that's my stamp." And then he went, I'm looking at the clock thinking, "Oh, come on, chum, don't get into it, or it must be flight." Yeah, anyway, he was as pleased as punch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I had a similar experience when I used to cycle there when I was a kid, and cycled across to Holland from, I was living in Lancashire at the time, and I've never felt so welcome in all my life. That was, when would that be? 1980s, and people were just so kind. And I'm due to go back, due to go there with my wife.
Yeah. Well,
last year.
Oh, excellent.
I had also had an occasion where I was travelling inland in Holland. Another thing that struck me about the Dutch, arriving at a small country station, and I could see the bus, and I thought, oh, it's like you do in England. The minute you get off at the platform, the blooming coach takes off. But it didn't. So I said to one of my Dutch friends, he said, "Oh, no, we don't do that in Holland. The bus waits for the coach waits for the, for the train." Oh yeah, I was going somewhere or other. Oh, two things. This was Amsterdam Central, and Dutch is an awfully difficult language to learn.
Yeah,
It's very complicated. Also, a lot of it is down here in the throat.
Did you try? Did
Oh,
you?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought to myself, no point in going to somebody's country if you can't speak their language.